Well, hey everybody, what's up, everybody? I guess one of the things I'm gonna talk about today is I guess the whole controversy with, I don't know if you guys seen it with Graham Plattner. So bad with Graham Plattner. Yeah, hopefully my audio is decent because I'm using a lavalier mic. So I guess Trump declared, I guess we're gonna take over the.
It's an important part for the United States, and it's surrounded by China ships and Russian ships, and that's not going to happen. The ships is it's not going to happen. It was Greenland that and it continues to be that Greenland doesn't help Denmark. Denmark doesn't spend money to really help Greenland, but it's an important part for the United States, and it's surrounded by China ships and Russian ships, and that's not going to happen. The ships is it's not going to happen. It was Greenland that and it continues to be that should be controlled by the United States, not by Denmark. And when they wouldn't go along with it, and with all the money we spend to help them with Russia.
Okay, I'm gonna talk about Graham Plattner. So man, I don't even know what to start with this Graham Plattner stuff. Yeah, so years ago, a woman who dated Graham Plattner said that she got raped. I don't want to say the word raped. Essay. I don't just essayed. She got essayed by Graham Plattner. Yeah, yeah. So it's not looking good for her. This is like the exclusive article for the Graham Plattner stuff. Yeah, he essayed. Well, supposedly, I don't know. It's all like speculation because I don't think nothing's. The woman decided to come forward. Yep, that like Graham Plattner essayed her. I don't want to say the victim's name because yeah, so it's Graham Plattner versus the Republican nominee, which is Susan in Maine. It's Susan. Oh, the Maine Democrats are putting the support. Yeah, that makes sense. I forgot her name. I forgot who. Oh, Susan Collins. Collins. Yeah, so this is looking bad for Plattner. What else is there to talk about? Let me look at MS now. He just needs to drop out. It's over for Graham Plattner. It's over. His election is finished. Someone needs to step up in Maine. It's over for Plattner. Yeah, the sanction U.S. strikes. Those new strikes against Iran. Yeah, the Strait of Hormuz is closed again. Is There were strikes.
Some housekeeping before we get started. We have 2 big Substack live streams this week. First, I'll be podding with my Wednesday co-host, Aaron Parnas, on The Raging Perspective. That's this Wednesday and every Wednesday at noon Eastern. And then on Thursday, I'm going live with Brian Tyler Cohen. We'll be talking about why Republicans have been so effective at wielding power, why Democrats have often failed to use the power they have, and what the left must do to govern in a post-Trump era. That is a preview. That's what his book is about. His book is awesome. I have read it. I have also written a blurb. That's how much I liked it. You won't want to miss it. That's this Thursday, July 9th. Kicks off at 11:45 a.m. Eastern. To catch it live, sign up at ragingmoderates.profgmedia.com or click the link in the show notes. Welcome to Raging Moderates. I'm Jessica Tarlov, and because he's not here to tell you that he's on a yacht, I will tell you that Scott is on a yacht off the coast of Sardinia. And Sam Stein, the managing editor of The Bulwark, MS Now contributor, is filling his... I don't even know actually how large Scott's shoes technically are, but they are, in podcasting world, they are enormous. So
Pretty
Sam,
big.
thank you. Pretty big.
Yeah, I wish I was on a yacht too, but I'm not, unfortunately.
Sam, I'm thrilled to have you here. It is a big day in politics in general, but especially in Democratic politics. And I want to start with what's going on with Graham Plattner. Jenny Rassicot, who dated him in 2021, detailed a rape scenario to Politico, got published yesterday about 3 p.m. She was one of the women that the New York Times had spoken to for their big piece. There's lots of swirl online, especially from Lindsay Fifield, who did come forward with her story about Plattner pulling her arm behind her back and shoving her into a bedroom, that this was one of the stories that they could have done more work to be able to bring to light. Even though Rassicot said in her interview with Jake Tapper yesterday that she didn't want to be known as a rape victim. If Graham Plattner drops out of the race by July 13th, then the Democratic Party in Maine has a chance to appoint someone else to be the candidate to face off against Susan Collins. That has to happen by July 17th. There are a lot of possible replacements, including Secretary of State Shanna Bellows, former Maine Senate President Troy Jackson. He seems to be the favorite of the progressive left right now. Former Public Health Director Nirav Shah and former congressional candidate Jordan Wood. Kalshi currently has the odds of Plattner dropping out by Thursday at 58%. I kind of feel like it's today. They have also that we still have a 57% chance of winning the seat. Susan Collins scares me. What are your initial thoughts on where all of this stands?
I mean, that's just a lot. Where to begin? I guess the most important thing is the non-political stuff, which is that if you read the account in Politico of what happened and transpired, I mean, regardless of whether you want to define it as sexual assaults or rape or whatever, it's disturbing, deeply disturbing. And it's not that it's an act in a vacuum. It's obviously part of a pattern of behavior that now has become just nothing that you could possibly dismiss. And I'm not going to pretend like I've been sort of banging on the door saying Plattner has to go. I think, on a personal level, I was willing to sort of give the guy a little space to explain some of the stuff in his past. Obviously, as a Jew, I was troubled by the tattoo, and yet I was willing to say, okay, maybe he didn't understand why he got that tattoo, a Nazi symbol tattoo, and certainly there's nothing that I've seen from him that is like Nazi behavior beyond that. But it's at some point, the pattern of the behavior and the repeated sort of denial, saying, well, this isn't really true, and it's the fog of memory, it adds up, and it says something about the character in a way that's obviously, I think, disqualifying at this juncture. So that's the personal stuff, and I think that's the most important stuff. The political stuff is a mess. And, I've spent yesterday talking to people in the Democratic Party about it and what the hell to do about it. And, to a person, no one thinks he can go on. And I think those calci odds are kind of like almost hysterically low, right? Like 58%. I guess maybe they're doing the odds by Thursday. Okay, yeah. So they're pointing to the date. If you're just saying he's going to drop out by the 13th, I'd put those odds at what, 95%? I mean, it's just...
I'm kind of at 99.9%.
Yeah, it's like, okay. I was giving like a little wiggle room for ego where he's like, you know what, I can make this happen. But no, he can't win. Even he just can't win. And so the question now becomes what to do about it. And I was talking to people who worked on, the weird analogy obviously is now like what happened with Biden in 2024, obviously different context and circumstances, but like, what do you do when you have a candidate who pretty much everyone's like, they can't win. We got to get them off the ballot. It's not easy, obviously, because if you choose someone who is a more quote unquote seasoned politician, and by that I mean someone who's been vetted, who's been around the block, who's in politics and has been, then people who really like Graham Plattner, who were brought into the process precisely because he wasn't a politician, suddenly they become disengaged. They say, well, this is just the establishment doing their thing again. If you go with someone who's less tested but has more grassroots support, you obviously risk getting into this situation again where you don't have a vetted candidate and you're just holding your breath hoping that there's not skeletons in the closet. And yet you have to do some sort of change. And I was talking to Rob Flaherty about this. He was Kamala Harris's top digital director. And he's like, look, it was awful. It was hard. But how we...
Well, my take on this whole Plattner thing is that he just has to drop. He's not a good nominee no more now for that. Like, he's a progressive and he was an outsider, but he just has a very bad record now. Now he just keeps on lying and lying, and just so many controversies with this guy. So he has to go. Yep. Graham Plattner, it's over for him. Concede and drop out or forfeit, or I don't know. Is it forfeit? I don't even know. I'm not a politician, so I don't know if you forfeit or you... Yep. So...
not switched to Kamala Harris, we lost obviously, but had we not switched to Kamala Harris, we would have lost a number of Senate seats in 2024. Like, you have to make the change.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I should note as well, Graham Plattner denies these allegations, but does acknowledge that essentially the position is untenable, and he's taking the time to reflect on all of this.
I wanted to directly address the troubling, serious, and false allegations against me. Any accusation of non-consensual behavior is categorically false, regardless of the inaccuracy of the reporting, but mindful of the political reality it will inflict. We are taking the time to reflect on the best path forward for the state that I love, the people that I love, the movement I belong to, and the goal of defeating Susan Collins. Those were the goals when we launched this campaign, and they remain my goals today. Every one of you deserves to see that vision come to fruition and see Susan Collins defeated, and we will use every tool at our disposal to do so.
The account is very disturbing on a number of levels, but I have not spoken to one woman of any political persuasion since this came out who doesn't recognize that scenario. And I think that's why it hit particularly hard, and it was so swift for everyone to just be like, this guy's got to go. And right. I'm not saying that every woman was raped or would allege that they were raped, but the idea of someone who you were in a situationship with, which is how she called it, and you didn't want them to come over and they came over anyway, and I think her phrase was, I complied but I didn't consent, is something very resonant with a lot of people. And I guess I shouldn't make it only women, because I'm sure the same things happen to men, but in most cases when you are dealing with a huge size differential and the alcohol being involved, it's different. And I can see why this felt palpably different to folks. In terms of what comes next and the politics of it, I'm curious as to how you feel about the internal party dynamics in this.
I can't watch this whole thing. I just watched a little bit of it just to get the hopes, to see about like Graham Plattner. Yeah, I guess that's the big U.S. politics news right now, like U.S. politics news. His controversy has been so big. Yeah. Bernie Sanders telling him to drop out. Yeah, just so bad. Oh, this is what someone was talking about. There was a Yeah, I seen that. Like, yeah, Francis Macron visiting Syria, and I saw that people were saying like some car blew up in Syria, and it was like during like his visit. Oh no, I can't watch this video. Sorry, I forgot. Forgot I can't watch Associated Press videos. Sorry about that. I wanted to watch an Associated Press video, but my channel's gonna get hit with a copyright strike. Not strike, but a warning if I watch that video. It's so stupid. It's so dumb that the rules are like that. Can't watch nothing on YouTube. I guess Congo, about Ebola outbreak, 500 people passed away. I think pretty much. I think I'm done for today. I just wanted to watch this like some of this Plattner video.
Hi there, everyone. It's 4 o'clock in the East. New allegations against the embattled Democratic nominee for Maine Senate seat, Graham Plattner, this time of rape, may finally force him from the race. It is a race that is critical to Democrats' efforts to retake control of the Senate in November. One of Plattner's closest allies, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, has joined the calls from party leaders like Senator Elizabeth Warren, Senator Cory Booker, the Democratic Senate Campaign Committee, and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. They have all demanded that Plattner bow out of the race. The New York Times reports this, quote, in a private call with his campaign staff Monday evening, Plattner did not announce plans to withdraw, but implied such a decision would be coming, according to 3 people familiar with the conversation. He said that he believed he still had leverage to influence which candidate would replace him on the ticket and wanted to ensure that the movement his campaign had built would continue, the people said. This all comes after Politico reported that a former girlfriend of Plattner's said that he raped her. Politico reports this, quote, a woman, Jenny Roscoe, who dated Plattner, says he forced her to have sex with him nearly 5 years ago, despite her repeated objections. It's an allegation Plattner denies. Roscoe described the alleged assault this way, quote, I remember him grabbing my pelvis and being really forceful of me, she said. Quote, I remember the specific moment where I thought to myself, like, this is no longer my choice, end quote. Politico reports this, quote, Roscoe previously described reckless and unsettling behavior by Graham Plattner to the New York Times, but says she didn't go public with this specific assault claim because she didn't want to be known as a rape victim. In a video responding to the article, Plattner denies the allegations. However, he said that being, quote, mindful of the political reality the reporting will inflict, we are taking the time to reflect on the best path forward. Time is of the essence, as Plattner must drop out by this upcoming Monday, July 13th, in order for Democrats to be able to replace him on the ballot. If he does drop out, the Maine Democratic Party has until July 27th to replace him on the ballot. Maine Senate seat is considered one of Democrats' most likely pickup opportunities in November's critical midterms. Plattner has been dogged by a steady stream of scandals that began before the primary had even taken place. They include that he had a Nazi symbol called a Totenkopf tattooed on him, past Reddit posts that were racist and appeared to defend sexual abuse, and allegations that he engaged in physically aggressive and disturbing behavior toward ex-girlfriends. And now, this latest reporting, the allegation of rape. This reckoning by the Democratic Party over how a man who has so much baggage, to put it mildly, has been tolerated and embraced and permitted to stay in this critical race for so long during an election year where the stakes for our democracy could not be any higher is where we begin today with a journalist who's been covering the story on the ground in Maine for the Bangor Daily News, Michael Shepard. Also joining us, Democratic strategist and Columbia University professor, political analyst Basil Smikles and senior political analyst, host of the Runaway Country podcast, and author of the Substack, How the Hell, with Alex Wagner. Our dear friend Alex Wagner is back with us. Let me start with you on the latest reporting. Michael, just tell me the state of the Plattner campaign right now.
Yeah, not good, right? He lost Bernie Sanders today. Our revolution, while I was getting on the call here, endorsed Troy Jackson, the former state Senate president who filed with the FEC to explore a run today. So it's a matter of time, I think. With Graham Platter is going to have to leave this race by Monday. The Monday deadline also obviously looms, but I think this is really a matter of hours for this campaign. There's just no path forward here, right? So he seems to be trying to exert a little bit of leverage here. I'm just not really sure how much he has, right, with no support left, essentially.
Michael, what is it about today? Is it that rape crosses a line for his elected endorsers, or is it that his supporters are actually revolted by an alleged rape?
I think it certainly is something that starts at the sort of top of the party, right? We saw the leaders of the Maine Democratic Party make a pretty extraordinary move to come out and issue a statement in their own names last night, right, saying he should get out of the race. And of course, national Democrats followed in a lot of groups and candidates, and so there's just no prominent Democrats still defending him today. And I think it's a number of things, right? I think there was a sense before this that one scandal, even similar in size to some of the ones that he has encountered, right, going back to October, the Reddit post, the tattoo, the New York Times story about allegations of toxic, and
I'm gonna end the stream. Cheers, everybody. Like and subscribe to Hector's News. I'll end the video. Cheers. Sorry I wasn't talking the last couple of minutes, but I'm gonna get going. See you guys. Take care.